This conference will now be recorded.
There we go. That's right. Okay, we will call this CDBG Steering Committee meeting to order. The time is 12:02 p.m. It's Thursday, July the 16th, 2020. First item is roll call.
All right. Spence Redwine.
Here.
Effie Bowden.
Here.
Todd Cato.
Here.
Okay, next item is item for individual consideration. Citizens may speak on the items listed on the agenda. A request to speak card must be filled out and turned in to the Deputy City Clerk before the committee considers the item for individual consideration. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. We will, 3A, will receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the minutes from the June 8th, 2020 meeting minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions to the minutes from last month? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the minutes be accepted as read.
I'll second that motion.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. The
Aye.
minutes are approved. Item 4, public hearing. Citizens may speak on items listed on the agenda as items for individual consideration. A request to speak card must be filled out and turned in to the Deputy City Clerk before the committee considers the item. Citizens' comments are limited to 3 minutes. So item 4A will receive a report, hold a discussion, and conduct a public hearing and take action on the joint 2020 through 2024 5-year consolidated plan and the 2020 annual action plan. So at this time, we will open a public hearing to discuss the consolidated plan and the action plan. Is there any discussion?
So Bill and I will kind of present some of the things that went into the consolidated plan and the annual action plan and tag team it. There'll be lots of good information and plenty of chances to ask any questions.
Okay.
But, you know, initially, we hired Jason Smith and his company, Wade Trim, to assist the city in putting these plans together. Jason's on the call with us currently. Of course, the city has to do this consolidated plan every 5 years to plan for the next 5 years. There's a lot of steps to go through in putting the plan together. You know, we have to identify the goals, objectives, and strategies for addressing the housing and community development needs. And we use many other resources in putting the consolidated plan together, including input from this committee, input from other community partners, and our citizens. Bill's going to share a little bit about the community survey that went out.
Okay.
So based on our survey we sent out, I believe some of you might have seen this before, we were able to identify housing needs, homeless needs, and then those were kind of the main points that we received feedback on. The other thing that really isn't an action or a goal that we're going to be doing in the next 5 years is communication. Our survey results turn out that about 91% of people that filled out the survey were only somewhat familiar or not familiar at all with our housing programs and our community development services department. So that leads us to believe that some of this funding can be better utilized if we can reach out to the public more and have them engage with them on a higher level. I think that's one of our goals that's not going to be listed on the screen that you can see here that we're working on behind the scenes.
Okay.
Regarding some of the goals on your screen now, Spence, I'm going to read some of them just so that way you can hear it. I know you can't see it, but we'll help you there. We're keeping it very similar to what we've done in the past, just based on that survey and what we feel confident in being able to achieve and our community needs. First one's going to be, of course, our minor rehab emergency repair program. Over the next 5 years, we're proposing to allocate about $185,000. Our infrastructure improvements is really just paying back our Section 108 loan that we have taken out. That one's coming out to about $962,000 over the next 5 years.
Okay, I see that.
Code enforcement, we're looking at $166,000 over 5 years, and then admin and planning, $142,000. One of the other changes that we're implementing, we had a lot of discussions here, and just based on what's going on with COVID, we felt like it might be prudent to pursue public services as a new goal, a new activity that we want to do. This is going to help us tackle some youth services. There's a lot of childcare services, extracurricular services that might have received major budget hits, budget cuts during COVID. There's also likely going to be a higher need for those types of services if schools are going to be shut down and those services are cut back. So it felt like it'd be good to maybe get a little bit ahead and see how we can serve our community, and this could be a good way of doing that. And we're allocating $125,000 there.
You know, I think it's important to note in that when we added public services, we actually took money away from the admin portion to fund the public services. So we did not take away from any of the minor rehab work or monies available or the code enforcement money available. So we're putting more of this money into the community doing this than just the admin portion.
That's really the top level view. This is about a 200-page document, but we felt like as a team, these are the big points to hit, but we're happy to discuss anything else in this material that you might have questions on.
For the public services money, is that going to be by application from agencies in town, or do we want to seek those out? How is that going to be dispersed and determined?
So we have had some initial discussions internally, using that money towards the Boys and Girls Club here in Denison. We know that they do serve a large portion of our low mod income families. So that's kind of the direction we're leaning, is helping support the services they provide there. Of course, being CDBG, yes, they will have to provide the documentation for income and that type of thing. But Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, that money can be used for to a different agency every year, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I think we've left it broad enough to where it allows the city some flexibility over the course of 5 years to pivot and fund different types of public services. You know, as Robert mentioned, they were in initial discussions with the Boys and Girls Club, but that funding could be used for homeless services. It could be used for senior programs. It could be used for health services. You know, a wide array of different things that public services kind of captures. So yeah, I think over the course of 5 years, there can be some flexibility for the city to engage different agencies and different types of services as needed.
When we say homeless services, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so it can mean a lot of things. So I mean, I guess to give you a general description would be providing funding to nonprofit agencies to do things like case management, homeless prevention programs, things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a long list of programs that could capture, you know, homeless services, but in a perfect world, it would be engaging a nonprofit agency that provides an array of services, and they utilize city funding or CDBG funding, leverage that with their existing resources to just expand their capacity, expand the existing services that they provide.
Okay.
Jason, if I may as well follow up on that. Whenever we are going to adopt that annual action plan for that given program year, we're going to have a clear outline of what that funding is going to be used for. Whether one year it's Boys and Girls Club, the next year it's Meals on Wheels. So we're going to be able to come back to the table and have a more specific and precise discussion about what those public services dollars for that year are going to be used for.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to note that this table you see in front of you is a best guess or it's a kind of a blueprint to follow for 5 years. Within this document is the 2020 annual action plan, which is the budget for this individual program year. And so over the course of the 5 years of the plan, as Bill mentioned, you'll be having discussions and going through a budgeting process annually to allocate funding to specific agencies or specific programs or projects, opposed to just broad goals like we're displaying here on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question about the homeless services. Also, my ministry, we deal mainly with homeless people, and when this is for me personally, I was not aware of when you're making budget plans and the times when you're making budget plans, because that's one of our goals, is to provide housing for the homeless. And I was reading here in the report the different statistics, and they don't match up with the true statistics. It had like there were only like, oh, if I can find it, I highlighted what I was going to ask about, but it had only like the chronic homeless. It had a very low, here it is, the chronic homeless, and then it says there were 5 individuals in the city of Denison who met the definition for chronically homeless. I see 15 to 20 every week.
Yeah.
And so, it's and then veterans, it says 2 homeless veterans.
Sure.
I would like to know when and where and how we can get accurate data and accurate information out to the city, because that is not accurate.
Well, I would say the data that was used in this plan is from a one-time count, 2020 point in time count that was conducted within Denison, and that's certainly not going to capture every homeless person or every veteran who's experiencing homeless or every individual but that's the best data we have available. If there is if this local continuum of care and the different agencies have a better source for homeless data, which generally this is the best that we have available to us, then I would with open arms, I think the city should engage those agencies to get a better grasp on what the homeless population is.
Yes.
Because the homeless census, I guess, or point in time count, whatever you want to call that, is generally conducted annually or every 2 years, and those are counts that are conducted on a 1 day, over 1 day.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
At
like
least
with
we
the
started.
census, it's never going to capture everybody.
Right. I understand that, but it should be more realistic. To me, it should be more realistic, because I just wrote down on all these, 2 homeless veterans and 5 individuals who are chronically homeless. In my ministry, I have 30, 40 chronically homeless people, so it's I did get the survey, if that's the survey we were talking about, that Felicia gave to me, and I did hand them out, but a lot of them didn't return them, and they didn't fill them out when they were there. And so I understand the difficulty, but I will work harder to try and get, when those surveys come out again, work harder to try and get myself and members of my team to just sit down with them and have them fill it out. And so, because that's nowhere near the representation of our homeless population.
And I think that data data is what it is. And I think that with these plans, certainly data is an important part in assessing the need, but it's not the only part. This is why these meetings are important. Discussions with people are important. Individuals that are working with certain populations to get a real life idea of the situation. We use the data that's helpful, but we also should be utilizing information that we gather from these discussions in determining what the needs are. So I don't want the data to be our only driver for how the city is making decisions. We also need to utilize the public input that we receive and discussions from committees such as this to help steer decisions that are made with the funding and determine what the needs are. So appreciate Effie bringing that up about the homeless population. And I know that throughout this process, talking with city staff, that's always been at the top of the list of services that were most needed. And I don't believe that was really covered in the last 5-year plan. And they were really wanting to include the opportunity or option to be able to fund homeless services potentially in the future in this 5-year plan. So this is why we added that public services goal to allow some flexibility with the funding. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's really steering the funding toward what has been identified as the highest priorities, whether it be through the data collection or the public input or discussions at meetings.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the input. That was great, Effie.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is Robert. I was going to ask if there's any other questions about the 5-year goal summary. Then I would touch on the 2020 annual action plan for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll share another screen here that'll just be for what we have budgeted for 2020. So we were actually allocated a little over $295,000 for 2020. 198,000 of that automatically went to pay back the Section 108 loan. So that left us working with a little less than $100,000. So we only have 4 goals total, one of them being the Section 108 loan, but the first goal for 2020 is still minor rehabs that we have in there. We've allocated a little over $30,000 for that. We hope to be able to assist around 15 people with that. And that's it. If we spend, I think we're the max amount. A lot of the projects come in cheaper, so we should be able to assist quite a bit more than that. Code enforcement was allocated $38,000, which their work in our low to mod income areas is super important to help get those brought back up as our bigger neighborhood revitalization initiatives in the city. And then just a little under $30,000 toward the admin portion of the program. On our con plan, we went with an average to get to that 1.5 million over 5 years, an average of 316,000 a year. Well, our funding got cut in 2020 by about $20,000 right off. So again, we're working with about 295,000 for 2020 year. So any questions about that? So we did not include any public services within the 2020 annual action plan. So we have some coronavirus CDBG CV funds that we also received. I believe it's 74,000. It'll be on a different meeting we'll talk about, but we are planning to put that towards public services. But we will be amending our current annual action plan to use those funds. But again, they're going to go towards public services. So we didn't write any into our 2020 annual action plan that we're looking at adopting soon.
Okay. I'm looking at everything right now. I don't have any questions. Todd, Effie, do you guys have any questions?
I don't at this time.
Okay.
No, I don't. Thank you.
So of course, staff is recommending that the committee recommend the council to adopt the plan with any potential minor changes based off the continued, the public comment period doesn't end till, I believe, the day of the council meeting, August 3rd. So if we get any additional comments then, we would take those into consideration, but we do recommend approving them as they are with potential minor adjustments.
Okay. All right. Well, so are there any other comments concerning the consolidated plan or the annual action plan? If not, I will close the public hearing. Man, I know a lot of work went into this, guys. It's a very detailed set of plans, and I certainly appreciate the hard work. And Robert, you coming in, you've done fantastic. So I certainly appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
Bill, Robert, do we have anything else to add before we adjourn? Or Effie or Todd?
Oh, you gotta make a motion.
Yeah, you gotta make a motion.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
So
Do I hear a motion
to adopt the 2020-2024 5-year consolidated plan and the 2020 annual action plan?
I hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Nice. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
I'll second it.
Okay, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. I certainly appreciate y'all.
Have a good day, everybody.
Updated, like Robert mentioned, we got to update our plan to account for the coronavirus money that we got. So stay tuned and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Bye.
All right, have a good day.
Bye.